Hi, I'm David. I'm going to quickly show you how to do a full timing belt replacement on my Altezza, including all the things you should be doing while the engine is disassembled. This is a standard maintenance item that needs to be done every 100,000 kilometers or so. Now I have ITBs on this car, just ignore that, it won't make much difference. On the standard Altezza, remove the airbox before you start and then remove these bolts. Remove these bolts, remove the oil cap, remove the engine cover. Right, we're going to put this back on so that we don't accidentally drop any bolts down in there. There's an earth over here you need to get off. Undo the injectors and get the wiring harness out of the way. Take the blow-by hose off. Undo the heater pipe mount. Undo the coils and the cam sensor. Take the coils out. Remove the electrical bracket from the back. Yep, my top cover's cut in half. I'm replacing these two belts, so I may as well just cut them off. Get the crank pulley. Use a bearing puller to remove the crank pulley. Remove all the bolts and the plastic cam cover. At this point you should remove the dipstick and the wiring harness that cuts across the engine here. I didn't, and it made things more difficult. Wiggle, 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 done. It's amazing how difficult things become when you don't follow the manual. You need to put the crank bolt back in because you need to rotate the engine. Rotate the engine clockwise using the crank pulley bolt. Keep rotating the engine until you get the keyway pointing vertical and the two marks on the cam pulleys matching the two marks on the engine. As we have it, we are on top dead center. Loosen the tensioner bolt. Remove the timing tensioner grenade pin bracket. Remove the timing belt tensioner. Take the belt off. You didn't mark the timing belt. Yeah, I shouldn't have to because Toyota actually puts marks on the belt. See that? Undo the PCV and hose. Take the valve cover off. Okay, this comes off. Got that bad boy, that fits in there. You get that, and that goes on here. That's 24 mil. Remove the camshaft end cap. Undo the center cam pulley bolt, but don't touch any of the other ones. Remove the cam pulley. Repeat the process for the other side by removing the cam end cap. This is what the manual was talking about, just dripping. Filling my wiring harness full of oil. It wanted me to rotate it back and forth 25 degrees to try and squirt the oil out of here. But I don't think that'd be any better, to be honest. We'll just wedge that under there, it'll be fine. Leave that for a few minutes. Remove the center bolt, but don't touch any of the other ones. There we go, we're off. Remove the oil pump pulley. That just pops off, look at that. Give the area a clean up and then remove the seal using a pick and a screwdriver. Here's the new one, part number will be in the description. It's going to use a little bit of lithium grease just to make the outside of this thing slippery so that it goes in easier. Push the new seal in. I found a socket extension worked really well. Install the pulley, and that is 35. Simple tool, made the job much easier. Around the oil pump there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts. Undo those and you can get to the snake seal. Giving that a bit of a pull, it just popped straight out. And here's our snake seal I was talking about. The snake seal needs to be placed in here, and a pro tip is to use some lithium grease to hold it in place. I was also told to add a dollop of lithium grease to one of the lumps on the pump because it'll help prime it. You can disagree with me if you like, but it's what I'm doing. Lithium grease dissolves in oil, so you won't have to worry about it causing a problem. These pumps are reportedly designed to outlast the engine tenfold, so you don't have to replace it. You just put this one back in. If you can't get the pump to go in, just rotate the pulley a little bit once it's inserted, and it's off center, so that'll help you line it up. And it should just go plop straight in. Tighten the 6 bolts to 9 Newton meters. Drain the coolant from the radiator. Pop the lid off. Help things move. If you undo these 3 bolts, it will disconnect the water pump housing from the block. Remove the top radiator hose for better access. There we go. Just took the idler pulley off here for the power steering and the aircon. Next up, there's 2 12s under here that you won't be able to see. We'll get to those. There's no way you'll be able to see them. They're underneath this pulley here. Try and get this power steering pump off. I made this little animation from the parts diagram to make it a little clearer for you. The pulley looks like this. There are actually 3 bolts. Rotate the pulley to access the bolts through the holes in the pulley. At this point I really should have drained the fluid from the reservoir and taken it completely out of the car. I managed to wedge it out of the way. I recommend that you remove it. So to remove the water pump, you have to move the power steering pump, you have to remove the idler pulley, get the aircon compressor and the bracket out of the way. Remove the lower hose from under the car. Right, I got that lower hose off. Down in there, see those 2 bolts? I have to try to get them out somehow. Hey, look at that. I got one. Undo the 12mm bolt that's attached here to the hard line. Undo the 4 bolts from the power steering pump bracket. Remove this top coolant neck. Okay, so I need that gasket. And the water pump will lift right out. I managed to get this screw out using the impact. Undo these 2 bolts here. And then, oh yeah, okay, cool. That came off easy. While we're here, let's do the thermostat as well. Right, line that up with this. If you put it in this way, it makes it easier. Okay, get this out of here. New rubber gasket is in. Okay, cool. That's that done. These are both 9s as well, as is that. I've got the screw, the locating screw, so I'll put that in there. This little O-ring's got to go in here, this tube here. So I'll put it on there. Put some dish soap on to help it go on easy. This gasket finally came in and here's the part number. Fit that up real quick. I really wish I unplugged this wiring harness. Just got to line this up with the hard line on the back and the bolts on the front. I got this one on by using a magnetic 10 and a normal ratchet from the bottom. So I can reach the ratchet under here, like that. The one at the back, again, magnetic socket. Put it on, I'm just rolling it with my thumb. And that's working really well. Get it on there. You just get the final turn with a ratchet spanner. Do up your water pump bolts to 9.3 newton meters. We've got our water pump on, we've got our aircon on. We're doing up the power steering pump bracket and the idler pulley. Get all of your bolts in, especially these 2, before you do up those ones and the air compressor, otherwise it won't all line up. That one for me was quite difficult. I'll also get there's a bracket for the water pipe that I'll have to put in as well. Take your crank bolt out and the belt guide. So there's the crank angle sensor and the 2 bolts underneath the crank pulley. Just undid that. Got to get that out too. I don't know what that is, but that's got to come out. Okay, got that out of there. That was pretty easy. I used a screwdriver and a pick to dig up the edge of the crank seal. And then after that, I used a pair of these side cutters, grabbed hold of that edge and pulled backwards, and it came out. I did end up Googling it, and they said to use a self-tapper screw. I didn't want to do that because I don't know the depth. So we've done it this way. Here's a crank seal. I'm going to put a tiny little bit of lithium grease on the outside of this just to help it go in. Do not push it in crooked. Again, I found the socket extension to work the best. Let's get our crank pulley back on. Timing cover plate, not really sure, 9 newton meters, and we have to do the crank angle sensor, which is also 9 newton meters. Next up is cam seals. There's the part number, that'll be in the description. Just want a little coating of grease in there. This is very easy on this car, far easier than any other car I've worked on. Bolt goes into the middle. 75 of the newton meters.
It's a bit tight, ain't it?
There you go. On my engine, this actually was stuck there. I tacked it with these and just pried it off. There's no lip here or anything. They just basically heat themselves up and get stuck. So don't be afraid to pull that off. There's another one in there, and yeah, that will be the same deal. Part numbers will be in the description. I don't have to mess with that bolt, I just need to do these 2. So undo them from the block, bolt that on, and that should be ready to go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, look at that. These 2 back in there. There we go, 42. 42, done. Undo the other idler pulley. Here's our new pulley, looks to be the same either side, like that in there. Boom. Do this one up to 44. They need to be set to 21 newton meters. There. It's just a bracket for the timing belt tensioner. It doesn't say which direction is rotate. If you put it on and the timing marks don't line up, pull it off, flip it 180 and put it back on again. Then install the timing belt tensioner. Make sure everything's lined up and then pull the grenade pin out. Still on mark, still on mark. Still on mark? Yep. Let's rotate it 3 times and see if it bends a valve. Install the lower plastic and the crank pulley. Okay, let's put this on here. Like that. Run it in finger tight. Push that on. That's a 14, that's a 10. Install the cam pulley end caps. Done. Put the rocker cover back on. Coils in again. Done. Install the upper timing belt cover. I'm going to bolt this back in. Put the cam pulley cover back on. I cut mine in half so I didn't have to take the timing belt cover off to change the spark plugs. Connect the PCV and plug in the wiring harness that goes on top of the engine. Forgot to put this bracket in. Goes at the back here. Oil cap off. Cover back on. Don't forget to reinstall this. Put that back in. Okay, need to find the bolts for that. Now I haven't fitted the water hoses because I have something special for that, and I haven't fitted the belts yet because I got distracted doing something else and I messed it up a bit. But I promise there's future Altezza videos that you want to see, so do yourself a favor and subscribe. As requested, there are links to the service manuals I used in the description, but those are somewhat difficult to follow, so check out this video for a ton more detail than what you just saw.